From US warships or B-52 bombers, deadly strikes on narco-terrorists, or even the possibility of CIA's covert operations. Will Donald Trump order an attack on Venezuela? If the US president's hostile rhetoric is anything to go by, here's what you can expect. Remember, President Donald Trump has accused Venezuela's President Nicolas Maduro of leading an organized crime gang, that too without any evidence. That's classic Trump. In fact, the US president has declined to answer if the CIA has the authority to assassinate Maduro. And in return, the Venezuelan strongman has accused Trump of seeking regime change, even appealed to the American people for peace. But the rhetoric coming out of the White House and the presence of military ships in the region indicate winds of change for Venezuela. That an armed conflict between the US and Venezuela is a stark possibility. The questions in the air being, will the US actually attack Venezuela? And what are US warships doing? Further escalating tensions is the docking of the USS Gravely Guided Missile Destroyer. It's docked in Port Spain. Do note that the capital of Trinidad and Tobago is just 25 miles from the coast of Venezuela. The Venezuelan government has already condemned its arrival, calling it a provocation by both the US and Trinidad and Tobago. Moreover, the largest warship in the world is also moving closer to Venezuela. It's called the USS Gerald R. Ford aircraft carrier. The latest incidents also involve bolstering of the American air presence. This includes nuclear-capable B-52 bombers. In fact, satellite image also shows F-35 fighter jets, possibly F-35Bs as well. Flights of B-1 bombers and P-8 Poseidon spy planes have also been visible on plane tracking platforms. Images on social media have also shown military helicopters operating off the coast of Trinidad and Tobago. Some of these are Boeing MH-6M Little Birds. Nicknamed killer eggs, they are used by the US Special Forces. Clearly, these moves come as the US has acknowledged at least 7 strikes, killing 32 people, all since September, that too on vessels near Venezuela. Washington claims they were transporting drugs. And earlier this month, Trump also confirmed that he has authorized the CIA to carry out covert operations in Venezuela. And that includes lethal operations in the country. Remember, the CIA has a long history of operations in Latin America, from direct paramilitary engagement to intelligence gathering with little to no physical footprint. So what is Trump's end goal in Venezuela, and is the recent military escalation just about drugs? Because military analysts have pointed out that intercepting drugs at sea does not require a force as big as the current US one. Also, according to a 2025 US Drug Enforcement Administration report, 84% of the cocaine seized in the US comes from Colombia, not Venezuela. In fact, the first 7 strikes were carried out in the Caribbean. This is not even a major sea route for drug trafficking compared with the Pacific Ocean, a region where only subsequent strikes were carried out. So much so, the US has not even detailed the evidence of Maduro leading a drug trafficking organization, even though there are known cases of those close to him being indicted. For his part, Maduro has repeatedly denied the accusations. He accuses the US of imperialism and worsening the country's economic crisis through sanctions. Experts also question Venezuela's significance as a drugs supplier. Yes, the country is a conduit for drug trafficking, but it is not a primary source for most illegal substances entering the US. Interestingly, fentanyl, which is responsible for most US drug-related deaths, is mainly sourced from Mexico. Again, not Venezuela. Begging the question, why is Trump, the self-proclaimed president of peace, aiming to topple the Venezuelan regime? Of course, there's internal pressure by his own administration. Case in point, Marco Rubio, who has long denounced Maduro. But for Donald Trump, many believe the tensions are only about oil. This even as Maduro's regime offered extensive concessions to Washington. And that includes offering the US a dominant stake in Venezuela's oil industry. In return, the Trump administration has even eased some sanctions on Venezuelan oil. One that grants US energy company Chevron a license to resume operations in Venezuela, also allowing an increase in exports from Venezuela. But long-standing tensions have escalated further after Rubio's tough approach. The big question is, how long is Trump willing to keep so many US assets parked in the Caribbean? Because if the prime purpose of this military build-up is to threaten Maduro, it is unclear whether it is enough to prompt defections or even dislodge Maduro's regime through force. Venezuela has raised a complaint to the UN Security Council demanding accountability from the US, but so far in vain.
Been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the they're doing.